Hi, everyone. So, I was editing a video that's going to come out tomorrow about the pros and cons of brand loyalty. And I realized I never really defined what a brand is and what it ideally should represent and should function as for a consumer. So, I wanted to provide that context today. I thought about making a little editorial note, but I thought it might take longer than a minute or two. So, here we are. Let me get a definition. Let me give you just a general definition of brand. This is the top result when you Google it. A brand is a name, term, design, symbol, or any other feature that distinguishes one seller's good or service from those of other sellers. And I guess there's guidelines, famous name brands, types of brands. All of this comes up when you just type it into Google. So I guess a lot of the focus is how you recognize the brands from other brands, how they're distinctive. Here's more what I was looking for from Merriam-Webster. A public image, reputation, or identity conceived of as something to be marketed or promoted. So, if we use that definition of a brand, when you have a company branding a line of products, there should be some kind of identity value or ethos, I guess you could say, that goes along with that brand. And therefore, it becomes easier for a consumer to align themselves with the things that they truly value. So a brand that markets itself as sustainable should have practices that really align with that value and products, therefore, that follow those practices. And it should become a safe choice for somebody who has that as a high value in their own life. A brand can also embody a style identity. And by choosing a certain brand, I guess in theory, you are presenting yourself as a certain style, or again, aligning yourself with the values of that brand through what you choose to use, to wear, how you present yourself. And I guess by not choosing all of the other brands in that category as well. Now, a company on top of the brand does not always align with the values that the brand says it promotes necessarily. So I know, for example, Unilever and Nestle are huge company parent umbrellas that have individual brand lines under them. And some of those brands might be, marketed as the budget-friendly brand or the sustainable brand, the green eco-friendly brand, the more luxury high-end brand, the more exclusive brand, the more aesthetically pleasing version of the brand. So not all creators of the brands actually embody the values of the brand that they create. And I think this is where we get a little bit of a disconnect that's problematic. I think that might be something to address at another time, seeing as that's not really what I'm going to be dealing with in the next video, talking about the pros and cons of when you have a brand preference. So we'll put a pin in that for later. But I guess in a way, perhaps we're taking the pin out already, because as an influencer who is sponsored by different brands, I guess you then become kind of like the parent company, the umbrella that's transmitting the awareness of those brands to all of your audience. And so therefore, your values may or may not line up with the brand that you are promoting. And ideally, I think what influencers try to do, or the ones who are conscious, say they try to make sure that brands line up with their values. But because the parent company of the actual brand may not line up with the values of the brand, you can see how that's already problematic, where they might be promoting a parent company whose values do not line up with theirs, or their actual values may not always line up with the brand, because brands can change. Companies can change the brands. I was just watching a Hannah Alonso video about the death of Monat. I don't know, the MLM. I just listened to the whole video and I forgot how to pronounce it. That's so ridiculous. But anyway, they changed the formulation of some of their products, and therefore the brand no longer aligned with some of the MLM sellers, and that caused problems. I think the same thing does happen to influencers. Again, mentioning the BetterHelp scandal, where everybody can kind of agree that the value of having access to therapy is good, but the scams and selling of information that BetterHelp is kind of known for now is not good. But creators who chose to support the brand for the values they thought it embodied are now kind of also associated with supporting a scam. And so that's where influencing can be dangerous, because you are not really the parent company or involved directly in the brand, and you have no say over the brand changes what its values are. So if you've ever been the face of that company or brand, you are going to be associated with whatever the current values of the company or brand might be. So I guess branding for the company is more purely a marketing tool or a targeting tool. So it's used to get a specific line of products out to a specific demographic, and or the positive associations of style, identity, values are used to then sell that product to those demographics. And so it's in the company's best interest to have many, many different brands that cater to all the different demographics. So anyway, tomorrow when I talk about the pros and cons of brand loyalty, or essentially having a preference for brands, I did refer to kind of my more narrow examples of my favorite brand of leather bag or my favorite brand of clothes in my closet. But I do think it is applicable to everybody, because no matter what, anybody who has to buy things to live, which is all humans, unless you're living off the land, off the grid. But most of us on a device watching this video are probably consuming things through the purchase of goods. Anybody who buys things has to make a choice about what brand to buy. You can't escape branding or marketing or companies and their associations of value. It's just impossible. So therefore, having a preference, I guess, is possibly inevitable. Unless you truly go to multiple stores for your groceries, you don't favor a certain one for certain things, or you truly have no stores that you frequent on a regular basis, which I just think is rare, right? Usually we have our go-to websites, our go-to grocery stores, even if it's just because of location, because they're close to us. There will be a brand that we tend to favor. And I think with that comes possible pros and cons that I'll talk about tomorrow using my own very kind of narrow personal examples. So anyway, I hope this video provides just that little bit of context that was missing from tomorrow's video. But I think in general, branding and the concept of brands is often not functional, or you could say dysfunctional, in respect to what it was supposed to promise to a customer. And if brands change their values or partner with people that don't actually represent the values of what they want to sell, or even partner with too many people, or get themselves associated with the wrong people. I've actually seen that recently as well, where I think the makeup company Kosas is getting some negative comments based on one of the influencers they featured in one of their campaigns, who's known for kind of exploiting her children. So that's another story. I've seen comments about a lot of people saying they'll never buy from that brand again because of that choice to partner with that influencer. So it's full of pitfalls. Maybe this is the tip of the iceberg of a longer discussion to come. All right. Thank you for tuning in for this small contextual check-in or idea exploration, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now. Oh, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you have any personal favorite brands? How do brands function or not function in your life? Are there any brands that you've realized don't line up with your values? I know there's a lot for me, right? Anything that's associated with fast fashion, lower quality, drop shipping, or just trying to make sales, anything that seems to be openly motivated by capitalist ideals is not a brand that I want to support. And even though in some cases the Walmarts, Targets, Costco's, all that is the most convenient, the Amazons, I have started trying to go kind of out of my way to support brands that are closer to my values and support things in my local community, support endeavors and people and jobs closer to my home. So I want to hear your thoughts, your responses, your experiences with brands. And with that, I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.